And it's about that moment when you realize you're in a new ship, but it has some realistic limitations and some benefits. Let's go into them. So you can see I'm landing again because this is a ramp-based ship. And if you are sideways, you might damage the ramp if you drop it. That's often a thing we've found in the past. But the Rambler is an amazing ship. The Cutter Rambler is, I think, the cutter that it should have been to begin with. I feel like this should be the cutter, like when the quintessential cutter, and then the Cutter Scout be the variant, the only variant. But it is what it is. This thing has less cargo, but it has a neat little area for habitation that I feel really fits the needs. You have 4 size 1 missiles, you have a pair of size 1 guns. So this thing isn't going to win any combat competitions anytime soon, but it certainly has something on board, which is welcome. The missile systems fire from the center fuselage. They are, or at least appear to be, reliable, and once you blow through those 4 size 1 missiles, though, you certainly have some question marks about what you can and really can get done. One of the things I do like is the armored window system on the cutters, and this one in particular being lightly armed like the cutters generally are, and not having the larger radar system of the Cutter Scout. It is nice to have those armored windows because once in a while you're probably going to take some hits. I won't say that this thing is impenetrable, but it's a nice little touch. I think that the Cutter Rambler in general has good visibility, especially when the armor is undeployed. But the real secret sauce, the real exciting part, is actually in the back of the ship and these multiple storage racks for weapon systems. So you have your larger weapons racks, your medium weapon rack, your small weapon racks, and if you look here, you'll note that there's utility gear too, like the Paramed Medical, your multi-tool, even knives, two-hand tractor beam, and everything in between. So between these larger storage rack in the back and then your pilot-based storage rack in the front, you have a nice assortment of area. And then you also have the suit locker to the left. The suit locker is not usable as far as I could tell. And believe me, I tried a few different ways to try to make this thing a thing. But from what I could tell, it's not quite in-game yet. Like other ships, to be fair, it's not really picking on the Cutter specifically, the Rambler specifically. In order to fit all that extra stuff, they had to push back the cargo bay to make more room inside this habitation to make it nicer. This is a nice little touch here, being able to turn the light on and off for your sleeping quarters. Once again, I like these smaller immersion-based things, make it feel more like your home out in the stars. I do like some of the services that this ship offers. Basically, the stuff that's like subsistence and your emergency support functions and stuff are not in the game yet, but the lighting changes to the room. In this particular room, it's actually on the back panel, not this front panel. But there is a locking system that will be in for the pilot, which I think is neat. So if you're giving someone a ride, you don't have to worry about that unless they have a hacking tool. That is not in, by the way, that plant and the cookie jar to the left. That's a Luminalia present, the cookie jar. And the plant is a subscriber thing. But I brought them in just for fun. As are the gear and the racks, the weapons and such, and the utility gear. That I purchased those in-game, and some of those are subscriber painted weapons, and I put those in the racks. They don't come with the ship. So the ship does have a nice little screen here for this little sitting table that they added for the Rambler. It certainly has the Drake aesthetic nailed. And but it's nice. I gotta say, having these extra seats is a nice touch because you have one seat there, you have another seat here at the jump seat, and this seat seems to be the one like that actually can take a few jostles. Maybe not the same, obviously, as the pilot seat, but it certainly is good. So you got technically a bed as a seat. You technically have a seat at the table, and then you have a seat in the jump seat, and then of course you have the pilot seat. So out of all these seats, I would say that the jump seat is probably the most legitimate secondary seat, and then the pilot seat, of course, actually has a harness, actually is designed to protect you in the G forces of making different jumps. And then these other seats, such as the seat at the table and the bed, and technically even the toilet, would not be real seats for those things. If you notice, it has a reasonable amount of internal storage systems, and I like the interface is right there. In the future, I don't think you're going to be able to just press I. You will have to actually go up to where the storage box is, so to speak. So if it's in the wall, you have to go to the wall. If it's in there, it's whatnot. The restroom is big enough. This is something I'm starting to do more and more. Ever since the SRV situation. So the SRV was supposed to have frosted glass for its restroom, and the restroom had a couple bugs as well. Didn't have the frosted glass unless you turn the lights on and off. So this is something I've added to my testing and first looks at these ships as I kind of go through. So you'll notice that it has a retractable toilet, but it doesn't hide it like an Origin style ship or something like that. Yes, I went there. Would have Drake is very basic aesthetic. Just know what you're getting into. If you're okay with seeing all that, the sink and the toilet and all that, I actually think the room looks bigger with the door open to the restroom. Once again, it's, it is what it is. It's your choice. It's your ship. But I feel that the room looks a little bigger with that open up. It is what it is. So right at a glance, you've got your racks, you've got your suit locker, you've got your bed, you've got your hygiene, you also have food processing. So on this ship, there is going to be food processing. It's not in yet. You can see I'm testing the lighting here. So there is this lower lighting, which is actually really good for long hauling, which this ship is actually quite good at. So it has a better class of quantum drive. And of course, you can upgrade that and purchase in game even better quantum drives, of course. And as they get tuned more and more and they become more practical and more useful, this ship certainly can benefit. Has a reasonably sized fuel tank, both in quantum and your hydrogen fuel for your local runabouts once you get to where you're going. And that is your very small cargo area. So you'll note that the small cargo area is small, but so you're not going to take that much with you. But what you lose in the cargo area, you gain in a suit locker and your much more enhanced weapon rack systems and your food processing on board. So you don't have to store as much MREs and other things like that to keep yourself going, and water, dozens of water bottles or something. Because over time, what you find is if you've been running around, you'll see that the basically you chew through a lot of water quickly. There is a ramp access button on both sides of the rear of the ship, which I thought was a nice touch. I think more ships could use this. I have had times where I've dropped a ramp on a ship, and Carrick, I'm looking at you, and you have to like get to the correct side. Like you go, I think you roll. If I roll left from inside the ship, technically it's on the right side. You have to like go across to the other side to work the gate to close it again behind you. With ship trespassing in the game now, that's less of an issue in theory, but still, I'd recommend closing your ship up when you're not in well, pretty much anywhere. When you're anywhere, except for inside a friendly ship, like physically inside like a C2 or something, if you could fit it in there, or on the inside on the top deck of a Liberator that's friendly in the middle of Quantum, maybe. But yeah, most of the time you want to. I like the VTOL characteristics of this ship, but it does require quite a lot of up throttle in the VTOL mode. So you'll note, like, you can't have like more of a fuel efficient takeoff. But when you max out, boy, it can grasshopper a little bit like the SRV. So the SRV has a really nice VTOL where it can take this huge amount of main thrusters and just spin them around, and bam, it just out the door. Well, this can take most of its main thrusters, and it has quite a nice little assortment for the size of ship, and it can spin them. And keeping the cutter tradition, it has reasonable VTOL characteristics. I do like its helicopter mode. I think it's quite fun. It is a little sluggish in the turns. So when you're flying straight ahead, it is a pleasure to fly this ship. It feels great, and that's important because this ship is designed to go long haul, uh, at least what you would consider long haul for a small ship of this class, and a starter ship at that. But one of the things I did notice is it is very sluggish in the turns, and if you're tight on an area in the dark, its headlight system is quite lacking. The headlights tend to like point downwards, not really forwards that well, and they seem to want to go forwards. It could be a bug, and the fog is kind of blowing them out. So like I keep turning them off. It's kind of like having a vehicle with high beams on in fog, and you have like just this glow in front of you that's really blocking your vision and hurting your night vision. It kind of felt like that. So I just turned the headlights off, and because the glass isn't all scratched up like some other ships, or in the past other ships, I should say. Basically, it was good enough for me to be able to see just enough with the lower light loadout. There is a lot of auxiliary lights that just stay on all the time on this ship. It is not a low-profile vessel, even without the icebreaker paint. That's what the paint is that you're seeing. It's the blue and white one, which I think is quite fetching and kind of fits the RV aesthetic a little bit and fun aesthetic for this ship. It's not a combat vessel. It's not meant to be. It is an endurance vessel, and going out on the road and having some fun, or you could, in theory, scout around in this thing. I would recommend one of the more earth tone paints, or just the standard paint. I wouldn't go in this bright blue and white one, but I definitely could see people having fun with this vessel, and going off into the journeys, into the wilds of Star Citizen, all over Stanton, into the future systems, and just going and setting up shop somewhere. When you have the ability to produce food on scene, when you have the ability to have hygiene, when you have the ability to stock a whole bunch of different gear, both weapons and utility gear, you have them, and a reasonable amount of self-storage on board, you have the ability to really set yourself up. A single player could set themselves up pretty well with this thing, for short stints, or even just a long weekend warrior type weekend. I could see in the future, like if there's when, I'm sure they'll do it, but when there's fishing or some other thing, or maybe you want to mine a cave and just go to do a couple sessions over a day, being able to just use this thing as your base of operations. It's I know it's small, and I know I'm making it sound like it's more than it is, but it's freedom. I mean, that's really what they're trying to show you here. And at this price point, there's really nothing quite like it, that has all of those different services, at least for one player, it could support for any reasonable amount of time and still have a lot of quantum. I like a lot of the aesthetics in there, where they have a lot of the storage and the look and the feel of going on an adventure. And I hope you like this video. Thank you to my long-term subscribers for sticking around. I did another licensed audio on this one. So this is Jose Skirchi, and the song was Adventure. I thought it was perfect for this vessel, and I hope you appreciated it. Don't forget to drop me a comment, feedback, good or bad. I do read them all. And yeah, another good ship out. Cutter with the Rambler is the final in the Cutter series that we know of anyway, and this was a long time coming, and CIG did a great job on it. All right, that's gonna do it for me, and thanks again. Happy holidays to all of you who celebrate Christmas. Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, and to everybody, I wish you a Happy New Year when you get there. And I just think this whole season is a great time. Happy Luminalia while we're at it. And all the other holidays. So I think this time of year really puts it into perspective for me, that it's more of giving back and really taking as little as possible. So the only thing I'm going to take from you is just a moment for you to think about, what really you appreciate in the community. And don't help me, help some of the other people starting out with their channels. be sure to just check out a video once in a while. Maybe one that you were hemming and hawing about, and especially if it has like 50 views or something, give them a view, give them a like. It means so much to somebody just starting out in the YouTube community making content. And once again, if you're making content yourself, drop me a comment, drop me a Discord if you want to talk in private or something. I will gladly stop by and give you some motivation and some thumbs up and some comments. I'm always looking out for people, and because I know what it feels like when you're first starting out. And I'm no big member of the community of the content, but this time of year, I'd like to try to give back in any little way, any tiny way I can. So yeah, that's my long-winded outro here. Once again, happy holidays, everyone.